Great. It's 5 o'clock. I'm going to be loud today to compensate for my funny volume thing on my computer. It's SLP. This is Watch Me Work. We're going to do what we do every week when we get together. We've been getting together for like 14, 15 years or 100 years, it feels like. We work together, and then we talk with you about your writing, your work, and your process. So it's Watch Me Work, but it's all about you, where we get to talk shop, strategies, encouragements, things like that. Maybe some tough love sometimes. If you have a question after the 20 minutes work time, if you have a question about your work and your creative process, New Work Development is going to tell you how to get in touch.
Hi, everyone. We're so happy to have all of you here today. So we're going to work for 20 minutes. We will use SLP's timer to do so. And then after that time, if you have a question, you can use the raise your hand button on the bottom of your Zoom screen. And then we will call on you and you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
It's that easy. And thank you. Thank you, New Work Development Department. Thank you, HowlRound. Thank you, Public Theater, for supporting us all these years and allowing us to visit with you every week. Forgot the other thing I was going to say. Thank you. We're going to work. Here we go. All right. Oops. If if people have questions, we can talk about your work.
Hi, Lisa. You can unmute yourself and ask your question if you'd like.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Lisa, it's great to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's been a lot of weeks.
It's been a lot of weeks.
Here's the latest thing that I've been contemplating. It seems to me that there are two parts to this sort of life. One of them is the actual creative work, and the other one is the business of doing the creative work.
Mhm.
And it doesn't seem like you can ignore it. But I'm wondering how to best efficiently, maybe if that's the word, juggle. Well, this is a mixed metaphor, but both sides of the same coin. How do you? That was terrible. Ignore that. But
I love it.
how? Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, do you create for a month and then do business for a month? That's kind of dull. Or do you? They don't, and they don't coexist, which is even weirder.
Ooh. Oh. Well, great question. You always have great questions, Lisa. Always appreciating your and everybody's questions, really. But Lisa, that's a great question. They don't coexist. They don't coexist. When you have something published, is that a coexistence of the creative and the business? Maybe.
I would say yes, and I'd say that's the end goal. But like, how do you? What happens in the in between times?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I started with that because begin with the end in mind. What happens in the in between times? It's funny, my tea bag, I just thought I'd read it. It says nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Lao Tzu, that's from the Tao. That's kind of cool. Maybe that'll help. No, but what I do is what I do. I do I do both. I give myself a little bit of both on the same day.
Hmm.
So maybe if I write from, say, 5 to noon, you know, then I have meetings and teachings and lectures and all other stuff and like Watch Me Work. We don't have Watch Me Work at 5 a.m. Why? Because no one would come except me and maybe a couple other people. But no, but so I divide my day like that. Morning is for writing time, afternoon, evening are for is for business meetings, things like that. Or you could do it the opposite way around. If you're more of a night owl and you feel very creative in the evening, you could save your creative stuff for the afternoon, evening, and do your businessy stuff in the morning. But entertain the possibility that they coexist all the time, just as a thought experiment, a faith exercise. They're actually helping each other. Just this is good. This is fun. This is interesting. This is helpful to me. Taking that meeting that publisher, writing those emails. It's kind of maybe we can work to slightly, reframe our attitude towards the things that are maybe less than joyous immediately. Does that help at all?
Um, yeah, it does, but I'm wondering. I'm just sort of wondering if it's a good thing to do both on the same day, or if it's. I mean, I guess the trick is to be kind of fluid, and if it's a good creative day, then you stay in the creative zone. And
Sure. That sure. Sure. That'll work. I think it depends on how fiercely business is knocking on your door. So if you can have a whole day top to tail of the creative zone, you know, and you're feeling like, yeah, this is great, then definitely go for it if that works for you. If that works for you, definitely go for it. Um, and if you say I'm only doing emails like once a week, you know, I'm only doing emails and phone calls and meetings and all that kind of stuff on, you know, Tuesday. You know, it's Super Tuesday every week, and you're gonna do all your business stuff one day a week. That's great. That's great. I would be the kind of person who like does Monday, forgets it's Tuesday, and then goes into Wednesday. You know, so I have to sort of I have to keep a little bit of attention on the business stuff every day if I possibly can. Otherwise, I tend to just sweep it under the rug. So whatever works though, but do it, yeah, a little dab every day, you know? Um, and again, reframe it as as a friend.
Okay.
Amrita, you have something to add? You're not. Amrita's adding. What do you think? What do you think? Amrita from the head of New Work Development. What do you think, girl?
Admittedly, the addition is more affirming what you said, Hazel. I think I love what you said of think of it as a friend. I think that's a really beautiful offering. And I just want to also add, Lisa, you might have seen it, but there's some folks in the chat that are also responding to this as well in terms of what it means to alternate between the two. And I appreciate that. I think there is both the holism and the distinction and what it means to appreciate that they are connected and how can time for both be sacred.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Great questions. Yeah. And
Thank
yeah,
you,
definitely check
Lisa.
out.
Hi, Beverly. Feel free to ask your question.
Thank you. So I'm working really at the beginning stages of a project. You know, I'm working on an outline and I'm doing a lot of research. And I find that I go on to do a little bit of research on the internet, and then I check my email, and then by that time, I find it really hard because it's such early days. I'm not totally in the flow and absorbed. So, and I get frustrated that I'm not concentrating as much as I should. And I wonder if you have any tactics. Do you use programs that stop access
Time.
to the internet, or what do you do?
I'm sorry. I said programs that stop time and space. Yeah, I use those. I use programs that stop time and space, and nothing else exists except my little made up story in my head. Yeah, that's a great. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Beverly. Go finish.
No,
what
I
you're
think
saying.
you're yeah. So do you actually use programs that stop access to the internet, or?
Well, I mean, you can get. I mean, it's tricky because if you need your devices to do research, then you need to keep your Wi-Fi and stuff on, right? I mean, you can get off your Wi-Fi and stuff like that. I mean, I don't use those programs, but I've heard that they're very helpful. And I use a program called like Grace, and It's Okay, and pat yourself on the back. And if you stray a little bit, especially these days when you like, I have to look at the news every second, otherwise, the sky might fall, I might not know about it. Give yourself some love, give yourself some grace. I find the timer is very helpful. So you're working for time. If you say, I'm going to work for, an hour without looking at my email, or I'm just going to focus. And then the timer goes off and you say, okay, I've done my work for the moment. I'm going to go and get a cup of tea. I'm going to come back and work for another hour or 30 minutes or whatever, 20 minutes or whatever time. And you say you're not in the flow of it yet, which is great. The more you work on it, the more you're going to get in the flow of it. You're going to start to feel that flow. You're going to start to get taken by that beautiful and safe and loving undertow, the more time you put into it. And in the meantime, continue to show up daily, I would say, and give yourself some grace. Especially these days, we really can benefit a lot from giving ourselves some love and some it's okay, you know?
Mhm.
Show up for your work every day, and if you don't hit the page number or the word count number or the draft number, whatever we're going for, or the if you're an architect and you haven't finished the building yet, it's okay. Just show up every day and put in a little something.
Great, thank you.
And yeah, okay. Thank you. I'm gonna turn this on to someone. Ding ding. Who is it? Yeah.
I
Okay.
feel like
Great
show up
question.
every day is a great message.
Show up every day. Yeah, you gotta, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
gotta show up every day. We get just, even if it's for a little dab, even if it's for a little bit, just showing up at your workspace or whatever, however you define that, and saying, I'm here and I'm doing a little something. And sometimes you might just sit there, and sometimes you might write up a storm, and sometimes you might just cry.
True.
You know?
Hi, Lou.
Right?
Feel
Hey
free
Lou, how you doing?
Hi, great to see everybody. Hi, SLP.
Great to see you.
It's great to see you. It's so funny because I had my question, I raised my hand, and I feel like there's a very special sponsor to today's session because I also want to talk about time. I'm in Japan, so it's tomorrow where I am talk about time. And my computer says it's Monday morning, but it's not, it's Tuesday morning. So I actually have no idea where I am in space or time. So when you said that, I'm like, yeah, the app is just to travel. But it's so great to see you. So I'm here and it's my first morning. I just arrived last night and I was like, I'm going to call into SLP because I need to plug in. And so I'm so happy to be here. I'm actually here to spend some time, which is one of my favorite places, and see some art and get inspired. And I actually brought my writing project. So I'm here to work in this very special place that I find I can plug into something bigger. And so that's why I'm here. But this is my question. So I work in nonfiction. I'm working on this book about real things that happened. And again, this was formulating before everyone else. But my question is this: I've been making art from things that happened in the past. So I'm not high. I'm just like I'm jet lagged. But I feel like this is a question someone who's high might ask. I'm working on making art from things that happened in the past, and I'm wondering what's happening to the time that I'm in every day, because I'm reflecting and making something in the present about what happened in the past. And I've started to think to myself, so what does that mean about my life that's ongoing? And I think it probably is the message that you've been sharing, which is just sort of like a little bit every day, like don't lose the thread of where you are sitting or something. I know you talk a lot about mindfulness and yoga and things, but I'm just sort of struck by this thing about making art about the past. And I think that's really my question, is sort of like, what does that mean? I can't stop wanting to do it. We've talked about this for years. Like, this is the project. This is where I situate myself, and my art is making sense of things that have happened. But as I like progress as a person, as an artist, and being in this maybe new place this morning, I'm like, so what does that leave the present tense as I mine the past for my art? So just a light question.
That's great. And I'm getting a contact high just by listening to you. Fantastic, which is my favorite kind of high to get. I mean, how do you know that? You speak about past and present as if you really know, or you're really sure about that.
Yeah.
I would I would offer that it's a lot more, we're so encouraged these days to talk about fluidity and all that of person and identity. I think time is also asking us to please see it as fluid and what we with our small, great, although small, limited minds can see and experience. In my experience, if you're talking about the past, you're making it in it's the present, and there's no real difference. Back there, we do things like that. Over there, right,
Pointing out the window. I don't know. Like, I don't know where it is.
that way. I'm pointing to you. I'm pointing. I'm pointing. There you are over there. So I would just I would we talked some about the things that have happened are, so I feel like they must be very grateful to you for remembering them. You're putting their bodies back together in the present.
Oof.
Yeah. So you're putting their members back together, and that is a very powerful thing to do, and it's a very beautiful gift to give yourself and to the things that are you think they're back there. Or like Faulkner said, what did Faulkner said? History was isn't even was is. Some that's a horrible paraphrase. Um, um, so it's all now,
Hmm.
as far as I
Yeah.
can tell.
That's really helpful. Yeah, the putting it back together, grateful to put it back together is really helpful too.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, and also there's a transmission, I talk about, the idea that the transmission, I mean, those of us who make things or work, do our work, whatever the work is, whatever kind of work it is, we are doing our work for many reasons. One of the reasons is that we are showing that the transmission is happening. You are demonstrating the transmission.
Hmm.
That is a very important thing. And the transmission works both ways. And we get with a group of people who are maybe older than we are, or younger than we are, we are demonstrating the presence and the fact that the transmission is happening. And that's very important for us to demonstrate.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I think when I get into flow, I
Mhm.
feel the transmission, right? Like that's like it's a real feeling. And
Right.
that's what I'm always kind of chasing
Right.
when
Right.
yeah, that's so helpful. Thank you, SLP. I'm going to hold that close.
Where are you in Japan? Where in Japan are you?
I'm in Tokyo right now for 5 days, and then I'm going to the West Coast to Kanazawa for almost 2 weeks, which is a city I've been to before, but it's like a second city. It's smaller, and
Oh, wow.
there's a beautiful library there. You can look it up in Kanazawa. It looks like a dream. So I'm planning on visiting, or maybe I'll shove it in the link. But I'm planning on working there when I'm there next week.
Wow. Oh, congratulations. We're so
Thank
happy.
you so much. Thank you. I'm so grateful to you all. Thank you very much.
Likewise. Wow.
Thank you, Lou. Crystal, hello. How are you? Feel free to ask your question.
How are you?
Hey.
So I'm working on the Joe. Joe knows you.
Joe knows me? No.
Yes, Joe R. Sakari, my
Okay.
friend who
Good.
I'm writing about.
Oh, okay.
Did I think Golden Boy, and you wrote or updated the book, and he played the trainer.
Oh my goodness. Yes. For encores years ago.
Yes,
Yeah. Oh, give him my love and blessings. Oh,
absolutely.
how cool. Ah, see, that is so wonderful.
I saw him on Saturday, and we spent the day together, some hours together, and I recorded him, and I got copious jokes, but I also realized that my focus has been so much on jokes and so much on how do I make him funny? How do I make him funny? I think I lost my story. I have about 23 pages,
Mhm.
but I see where act two can happen in those 23 pages. Like I think things are kind of too pressed together. But I am struggling now to to see what that thread is, that thread of maybe plot or conflict or want, to get from where I am to what will be act two and to the end. So I'm kind of struggling with story as opposed to character. So
Yeah.
I'm a little, I'm gonna keep going and stuff. I just don't, I just find that when I was writing, as I was reading it, because I hadn't read what I was writing, I read it and I was like, oh, I think this is funny. And I'm laughing. This is funny. And then
So,
I was like, but where are we going with this? Like is this gonna be a person who's like a ham who's just always on? Like, what is the purpose of
mhm.
even all the jokes? and how do I bring more substance to him? Now that I think he had Joe, you know Joe. He had he just has amazing one-liners, two-liners, and I'm starting to understand the rhythm of his comedy and where how he thinks. And I've known him for over 10 years. But I guess like just as far as the story, now that I feel like I have a little bit more of a grasp on him and the story that you said to the person to listen to in the story, how do I guess maybe I need to change gears.
Yeah, change gears, stay in the car, keep your hands on the wheel. Hey, I don't, and I've driven a stick before, but that's all I know. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're going up a hill? You're gonna go into second? What are you doing? Well, it's fictional Joe, right? So the
Yes.
character in your play is fictional Joe, correct?
Yes.
Right. So talk to fictional Joe. You've talked to real Joe. You've gotten his jokes. A couple weeks ago, you were like, "How do I make this funny?" So now you've got the rhythm of his humor. Now talk to your fictional Joe and tell, what do you want, fictional Joe? You don't have to call him fictional Joe. But you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not the real Joe that you know. What's your story? Why are you here? What are you going for? Ask him all those questions that you said. You can say, "I'm struggling. I need your help."
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
like that, and just get into a conversation with him, and it's okay if you come up with some, like, "I just want a ham sandwich." I mean, whatever. It's okay to start out with something that's feels less promising. Just keep asking.
Okay.
Does that make sense? He'll help you.
Yeah, I think so. I guess because most of the things that I've written as of late has been very high stakes and hard drama and very serious. The last three plays, and so now it's like, okay, let's lighten up. I don't know what, like, I guess stakes are supposed to look like in comedy. I think it's supposed to be the same, except it's just written differently. Um, but I don't know. I'm in a place of like, wow, I really don't know what to do right now, just as far as with the story, since this revelation.
Well, again, you can experiment by telling yourself that you do know what to do. I mean, really, it's instead of listen to yourself. "I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to." How about, "I do know what to do. I know what to do. I know what to do. I know to sit down every day with my character, show up every day. I'm going to talk to him for 20 minutes at a pop, 20 minutes 3 or 4 times a day. I'm going to let him into my head. I'm going to remind myself that character and story are one." It's very interesting. We're having several conversations today about this and that, past and present, business and art, character and story, opposition. It's okay. It's really exciting to think that I mean, we're in most of it in this country, we're very encouraged to think of things in terms of them, us and them, separation. Just encourage us all as an exercise to think about unity. So the unity of art and business. You know what I mean? My artistic life and the business side of it. The unity of the past and the present, unity of character and plot. And what happens when we can think of them as united in their efforts, to
Yeah.
bring forth the beautiful thing that will help so many people, including the maker, you know? So just know and say to yourself, "I got this. I got this. Okay. I know how to show up. I got this."
Okay. Thank you.
It's always fun, right? It's always fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you for sharing. Hi,
Sure.
Simone. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Oh,
Hey,
hey.
I think I'm gonna continue on the struggle fiction, nonfiction train.
This is exciting, right?
Yeah, I think so. I've been writing about my my grandmother, my late grandmother, because she was just a character and she's worth just telling stories about. And so what I decided to do was to try to give myself the gift of grace of not trying to make this biographical and really trying to be like, okay, now I got to research this story and I got to, being bound to getting it right. And so I was like, well, why don't I try to do it more as a play, and a fictionalized character? So maybe, kind of freeing myself from feeling like, I got to get the family story right.
Right.
But the struggle I'm having though is yeah, just I think that's what I mean by it ties with what the other two people were talking about. I'm really struggling with um finding this fictional character and not just automatically drifting back into, getting it right, right? Because it's, when it's stories of a person that that's when it's hard. And so I'm struggling with, like, I'm good at I've been giving myself the exercise of, like, when I remember particular vignettes or moments or things that are, kind of theatrical of stories of who she was. I write them down, but it's the connecting the dots now that I'm really struggling with, of trying to figure out, like, who is this play about? Who, like, and that. So yeah, how do I don't know. And maybe the question is, how do I free myself of, free myself and just kind of create this brand new fictionalized character? Or yeah, I don't know. How have you or other people kind of just freed yourself from that? Because I'm struggling.
That's a great question, Simone. Is your grandmother, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's still living, or is she?
No, she passed away
How long ago did she pass?
this year. This year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, I mean, you don't have to. Mm. So there's there's fiction and there's biography and there's the whole thing about getting it right, which who knows really what that means, right? So you have you're so respectful to your grandmother and you love her so much and she sounds like such a wonderful person. You want to do right by her. You don't want to just kind of make up anything. And yet there are gaps in her story
Mm-hmm.
which you have to check with her, but she might well be okay that you fabricate or add a little something.
I think she'd be fine. I need to keep hearing her telling me to be fine with that, because I am a creative nonfiction person. So, like, this is a stretch.
The
Yeah,
stretching is
that's
good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
can you hear her telling you it's good? Go ahead,
Hmm.
go ahead, make up something. I mean, did she do everything she wanted to do? Were there some things she like really wanted to do and she never got around to doing them?
Maybe.
Maybe, right, maybe. And maybe she didn't tell you, but she might make up a little something.
Hmm.
I mean, I think she would give you, permission, for lack of a better, you know,
Hmm.
um, I mean, we can free ourselves and we can be freed by the love of those we love.
Hmm.
Allow her love to free you or allow you to write the story that you want to write. And she would be so
Yeah.
proud and happy and delighted to be included in something you've written.
Yeah. And I guess and it's the freeing myself of the other cast of characters who, I'm like, I don't know who would be around, and just being like, just make somebody up. And that's,
Just
that's
make
the struggle.
and
Hmm.
ask her like what part of what story do you want to be in? You know,
Hmm.
what would you like what story would you like to be in? I'd love to put you in a story, or I'd love to, to expand on a story of your life that we know. What would you like? I mean, she's around to help.
Yeah.
She's
Okay.
around. She can be of great help to you.
that is helpful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And it's going to be wonderful. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, no, like I said, that. So thank you for that, because I've been struggling, and she was a jazz musician, and so like the story writes itself. I just need to just get out of my own way, and or have or not to maybe not get out of my own way. Maybe I need to enter into the conversation. So I will take that approach.
Beautiful way to say it. That's beautiful. What instrument did she play?
Keyboard, piano.
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Wow. It's going to be a great
And
piece.
she played all the way through, well into over 100. So
Oh.
she continued playing and stuff. So
Wow.
yeah,
That is
so
so
that's why, yeah, I feel like it's a fun story to tell, and even just having some footage and stuff like that of her and stuff. It's just, so I want to enjoy, um, yeah, and I think she would appreciate the enjoyments, but it's, so it's been fun even just writing the stories, but I've been stuck. So I think I'll thank you for that exercise of maybe I'll just have a conversation this week and take that as an approach for the next couple of weeks and see where that leads. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful question.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you so much. Hi,
Yeah.
Rebecca. Hello. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, how's it going?
It's interesting, SLP. How are you?
Hanging in there.
All
Showing up.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, past and present and old colored folk. Had a conversation with a cousin. And I don't usually talk with my family about what I'm working on. Because each side of the family thinks it's about them and it's not. So best just not to talk about it. But Robert Earl and I talk a lot about what would be my great grandfather and his, and the one that I struggle with in the manuscript. And it turns out we don't know who we think we are. And it has me sort of wondering, because I decided to just leave all that out. And now, after discussing with him, it all feels more relevant. I found the Freedmen's Bureau labor papers online. And so my great-great-grandfather came into Tennessee with one name, but we all grew up with a different name. And it only shows up once in a history one of my cousins wrote that got published in Fayette County. But then I found the other name. And I found the labor contract. And it's so I'm just kind of struggling a bit with less about the fact that I found all this information, but how, I guess, what it does mean for the present, that that and its relevance to the present is really important to me. Because, if he did turn out to be the white man signing the labor contract and came in as a Black man, claiming to be Black, and a lot of my family is really, really, really light skinned. It doesn't hijack the story, but it does complicate it. So I don't know. And just, the color struckness of my family is really has kind of ruined relationships between the two families. So I feel like death occurs in lots of ways culturally, and by lynching and by poor diet, and how those things come together now feels important. So I think I feel like I'm trying to figure out what just happened, and how it changes things.
And whether or not you should include it in what you're writing?
Yeah, because I was really like relieved to think I'm not going to include this, and then I told my partner I'm talking with Robert Earl about Mac, and she said light 2 candles, and I didn't. And it feels more about how we want to forget and the cost of remembering, in a way. Which doesn't change the whole manuscript, but it does. I guess it could focus the part about Mac, aka Nathan, aka Mac. So.
I mean, it's a big decision. I mean, you have the information. You can flip a coin. You can ask me what I would do. I don't know. It's your story. You got to make that call,
Yeah, I understand that. And I think it's more, this is for kind of the first place where I felt like this is kind of bubbling and brewing, and I keep saying to folks, well, this story is more relevant now than it has ever been because of kind of what's happening in the country. But it's more than that.
I mean, include it. I mean, it's your story.
It is.
I mean, I don't want to be, glib about it, or include it. I'm not saying that. I'm hearing you're communicating very beautifully the weight of the question, and at the same time, the facts, the truth came knocking at your door. You don't have to include it. You can put it aside. That works too. I mean, what we discover every day teaches us more about who we are. And there's some things about ourselves that we would rather not know. I mean, something like since the election, oh, that's not us. Guess what it is?
Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah.
So that it's a ooh, that's us moment. That's who I am. Okay. And how do I, sing the song with those notes? You're only going to know if if you don't sing it, you won't know. So.
Well, I have been resisting the whiteness of the background, the white noise in the background for a while. And, I heard the question, does Mac, in the past, it's like, did Mac want to be found? Well, maybe not, so I can leave it. But now the question is, did Mac want help being found? And then what does that mean in terms of just as a character, sort of, you know, in a nonfiction
Mm-hmm.
memoir detective story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there is that detective story part of it where there's always a twist and always a turn.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe this is the one.
Sounds like the one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What a beautiful thing to wrestle with. Right?
Mm.
Lucky you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Lucky are we all to
Mhm.
be hanging out with Watch Me Work. Are we back next week? New work development?
We are. So I just mention and acknowledge, I know Joy and Samantha, you had your hands up, but because we are past 6, we are coming back next week on December 2nd. So please come back next week and raise your hands right at the top and we'll make sure that we get your questions in.
Okay. Thank you so much. We love you all. Have a wonderful and, you know, all the things about Thanksgiving.
Yes, exactly. Thank you
Thank you,
all.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.